In Muro Ami, child labor is normalized due to poverty. To survive, families rely on their children for extra income, hoping they'll be chosen to work for the maestro. This desperation forces parents to wish for something that no sane parent would, which is to subject their child to labor just to make ends meet. The director discussed moral implications of child labor by showing how the children are forced to mature fast. Separated from their families at a young age, they have to fend for themselves in a cruel world without emotional support. They are forced to dive into the sea against their own will, often shoved in without considerations for their safety or how fearful they are. They are only treated as tools for profit, with their lives constantly at risk. These moral implications of child labor is fully negative, unethically stripping children of their education and a proper childhood, forced to do life-threatening work. Their welfare is terrible as seen from the cramped beds, lack of hygiene with rats running around their resting area, and having limited access to basic necessities.
Walang ligo-ligo. Ginto ang tubig dito. Ang mahuli nagsasayang ng tubig sa akin mananagot. Walang mag-aagahan hanggat walang nahuhuling isda.
They are growing children, yet most of their basic needs are neglected. One of the scenes showing the negative moral implications of child labor is when the children are forced to eat from a bucket with their unwashed hands, then line up for scarce water rations. One boy steals another boy's portion, showing their extreme deprivation of water, as one would not fight for rations if the portions were sufficient to go around for everyone. As punishment, Fredo declares a 24-hour food ban, showing that their survival depends entirely on his mercy. Another scene is when the seniors push the frightened children into the sea. Instead of encouraging them to dive into the sea, he shoves them in, disregarding their fear. Acts like these harm the children mentally and physically, contributing towards child labor. In Muro Ami, poverty was addressed by parents having no choice but to send their children to work under brutal conditions, enduring long separations and the risk of losing them. Workers, desperate for survival, even resort to stealing money from the maestro, which could result in them losing their lives or being punished in inhumane ways, as seen from what the maestro is capable of doing in other scenes, such as throwing a girl into the sea with a shark lurking nearby, just because she was a girl and not that she did anything wrong. The film focused mainly on boys being exploited and being willing to risk it all for the sake of survival. Meanwhile, Insiang tackles poverty through domestic abuse and gender oppression, as seen when Insiang's mother refuses to believe that her daughter was raped by Dado, instead siding with him. This shows that the women in Insiang are not taken seriously, treated as objects to satisfy men. Dado forcing himself onto Insiang and her mother throughout the film also shows how powerless women can be in a world dominated by men. Poverty is explicitly shown in Muro Ami. In this scene, we see that water is scarce and they are not allowed to shower on the ship. If caught wasting water, they will be punished. In another scene, it is also shown when one of the boys asks his senior for money, stating that he needs it to help his mother build a store. In comparison with Insiang, the boys were being mistreated as well. When a boy disobeys, Fredo beats him in front of everyone, making it clear that resistance equals punishment. This mirrors Tonia's abuse of Insiang, showing how the oppressed can become the oppressors, enforcing the very system that once harmed them.
Kasi yung ina, bumili ako ng bagong tsinelas.
O bakit? Maayos pa naman yung dati mong tsinelas ah.
Maayos ho pag dito sa loob ng bahay, pero nakakahiya na hong ilabas eh.
Nakakahiya. Ang sabihin mo, talagang nagpapaganda ka para mapansin ka ng mga lalaki. O ano, hindi ba?
Inay naman.
Both Insiang and Fredo have become numb to suffering, prioritizing survival over morality. Insiang initially condemns Tonya and Dado's relationship.
Inay, dito na ho ba titira si Dado?
Oo. At kung iniisip mo mang kapitbahay, wala akong pakialam doon.
After being raped by Dado and being accused of seducing him, she seduces Dado herself, only to betray her mother and have him killed. Similarly, Fredo, once a victim of exploitation, becomes the same kind of abusive boss towards the next generation of children. Both films argue that poverty strips people of compassion, turning victims into enforcers of oppression. To me, poverty is just one of the many compelling themes in a film, and Filipino films do not necessarily need poverty porn to entice audiences. In Muro Ami, poverty serves to establish the reality of child labor, enduring injuries, exhaustion, and punishment.
Sila lang may sakit.
Sabi ko, maestro, nagkakahawa kasi.
Inainom niyo na ng gamot?
Wala nang gamot, sabi ni Manong.
The film's impact lies in its deeper critique of systemic abuse. Similarly, Insiang is about social oppression, gender roles, and power dynamics. It does not dwell on poverty to evoke pity, but instead highlights the injustice of women, seen in the scenes of rape and domestic abuse. Films engage audiences through character-driven narratives rather than merely depicting the suffering of the poor.